Imagine if every year a large group of people gathered to exploit, torment and mutilate a whole population of beneficial predators. Now imagine this was happening in a state with a proud cultural heritage like Texas. There would be widespread outrage and shame, right? Well, apparently not.
I'm Shelby Bird here at the Nolan County Coliseum in Sweetwater, Texas. This weekend, these pits behind me will be filled with rattlesnakes. The roundup first started in the 1950s when Sweetwater was overrun by rattlesnakes. Now in its 67th year, the roundup has evolved far beyond a few ranches.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. The Sweetwater Rattlesnake Roundup is the largest rattlesnake roundup in the world still in operation, and it is one of the few where they still slaughter rattlesnakes en masse for sport, entertainment and food. Let's take a look at a couple of clips here to understand the logic behind it and how this is presented to the public.
This is the largest roundup in the world, attracting more than 25,000 visitors, all here to see one thing: snakes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why in the world? But rattlesnake venom has many uses, including the creation of anti-venom, and it's used in scientific studies for everything from heart attacks to strokes.
So the same themes come up with this event over and over again because of how it is presented and how well they know to work the media. Basically, we're constantly reminded of the phrase education, and research is another one that pops up, and we're constantly reminded that they use the venom for, medical research and anti-venom. But is this true? And more to the point, is there such a massive amount of cruelty going on behind the scenes that even if this were true, it wouldn't be worth it? Let's take a look and find out.
What you're about to see is animal abuse that is not only legal, but celebrated in Texas. Every year, Sweetwater, Texas hosts the Rattlesnake Roundup, where thousands of rattlesnakes are collected, tormented, and killed in the name of fun. These snakes are skinned and displayed, and for a small fee, children can try their hand at skinning snakes and adding their bloody handprint to the event's mural.
They saw an exotic vet discussing the event and just scratching the surface of some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And I think it's important to remind us all at this point that an exotic vet is not someone with a weak stomach. They're someone that sees all kinds of stuff and has to euthanize animals themselves on a regular basis. Myself, likewise, I've done studies where I've had to dissect animals as large as porpoises and seals and take out their stomach contents and all kinds of stuff like that. I eat meat on a regular basis. I'm not someone with such a weak stomach that I balk at the idea of culling animals or hunting animals. As we can see, they've got a kind of conveyor belt set up. It's slaughter en masse. And this is after the snakes have been sat there for up to 2 weeks, wondering what's going to happen to them. Now, when it comes to the claim of the venom extracted being used for research, a lot of campaigners say this simply isn't true. They say much of it never reaches any kind of research facility. And as a zoologist, I have to say that I find the claim that they are selling it or giving it away for research very suspicious. Because I know scientists, and scientists are very picky people. They want healthy rattlesnakes with a healthy venom profile, and the best thing for that is long-term, well-fed, healthy captive snakes. It's not snakes that have been stressed, kept in unhygienic conditions, and suffered who knows what kind of physical damage before the venom is extracted. That's just not good. That's not a good product. That's not good for anyone in any way, shape or form. So the idea that you can abuse snakes for a period of up to several weeks and then extract good samples of venom from them, that doesn't make logical sense. Those scenes were from a video by a man named Mark Lotterhand, who made a video trying to urge people to basically stop this event years ago. It got a lot of views but didn't get a lot of momentum behind it, but I think he did a really good job. I think just from that you can see the level of cruelty, the level of destruction of these animals. It is something sick. Now we move on to the part where, doing the research, I started to get a bit disturbed. You might think that that's disturbing, killing animals in an exceptionally cruel way, but this is something that happens around the world, unfortunately. But the part that started to affect me was when I saw the faces of children watching this stuff, and I saw how children were coerced into taking part in this, into watching the snakes being dispatched, and the kids are actually even being talked into skinning them by their families. And I think that crosses a line.
The roundup first started in the 1950s when Sweetwater was overrun by rattlesnakes.
Personally, I love rattlesnakes, and I've honestly never seen one before.
Look at little Wilson's face. He said he loves rattlesnakes. He didn't say he wants to see them tortured and skinned alive. It's interesting how the kids are looking through the glass and the guy is, kind of showing the rattlesnake around, and it starts off in this fun circus kind of tone, and then it gets darker and darker and darker as you progress through the different stalls and events and stuff. Again, it's not the same as killing your chicken to put on your table. It's not the same as killing a deer. This is an animal that's been held for a certain amount of time, and that is a different way of doing things. It adds a different aspect of cruelty. Again, there we saw young kids putting their hands in rattlesnake blood and pressing their handprints in blood on the wall. I don't care what background you're from. Putting bloodied handprints on the wall is not the kind of activity you really want your kids doing. It seems to be something that might actually disturb them, quite frankly. Getting a kid to skin the snake. One person I saw talking about it said, yeah, well, some of the kids are hesitant, they don't want to do it, they're kind of grossed out, but the families talk them into it, they kind of push them into it. Obviously, the argument for this is to keep the rattlesnake numbers down, stop them overpopulating, stop them doing damage to people, cattle, pets, all the rest. We've heard these arguments over and over again. They don't really work, these arguments, because they're not founded in logic. At the start of this video, I described rattlesnakes as predators, as beneficial predators, but I was really kind of oversimplifying there. Rattlesnakes are mesopredators, so they kind of sit in the middle of the food chain. I'm not going to explain the whole, food chain, niche partitioning, resource partitioning, all that kind of stuff, because it doesn't need to be that complicated. They sit in the middle. They eat animals lower down on the chain, mostly prey species, and a lot of the animals they eat are rodents. Mesopredators are really important animals. They're a really important group of animals that help keep the numbers of what are basically pest animals in check. So animals like mice, rats, ground squirrels, and even sparrows and things like that. Now, this is important because it keeps disease in check. It keeps the environment in check. When you eliminate mesopredators, you allow the vermin and the pest species to go unchecked. They can have a population explosion. They can attack grain, food stores, areas you wouldn't usually expect to see them, and they can spread disease. And this is a major problem. In the American Southwest, there are diseases emerging and re-emerging that are going to be much more dangerous for humans than a rattlesnake bite. So I'm making a pretty bold claim saying that culling rattlesnakes in an uncontrolled and reckless way like this can let other animals explode in population and spread very dangerous diseases to you. But you really don't have to take my word for this. Let's take a look at a couple of the diseases which are currently cropping up in the American Southwest.
A person in northern Arizona has died from the plague. Northern Arizona healthcare system says that the person showed up to the Flagstaff Medical Center with symptoms and died later that day. They tested positive for Yersinia pestis, which is a bacteria that causes a plague.
A lot of people don't realize it, but the plague is present in the American Southwest. It always has been. And there are a couple of cases every year. Sometimes they are fatal. We often get this line that, we've got antibiotics now, so it's not a big deal. But the plague can still be very, very, very serious. Unless you get treatment literally within hours, it's still a very dangerous disease. Recklessly culling an animal like a rattlesnake that eats rodents that carry the flea that carries plague, it's just such an own goal. It's such a bad thing to do for your population and your local area.
Autopsy report has confirmed hantavirus to be the cause of death for Betsy Arikara, who is the wife of actor Gene Hackman. Now, what is hantavirus, and why is it that many people have never heard of this condition? Well, it's a virus that's spread through contact with rodents, rodent feces, rodent urine, and at first it causes flu-like symptoms, fever, headache, body aches, but eventually the disease can progress to respiratory distress syndrome, where the lungs become so inflamed they fill up with fluid. This can rapidly lead to respiratory failure and death. In fact, the disease has a case fatality rate of 30 to 60%.
Imagine that, up to 60% fatality rate for hantavirus, whereas a rattlesnake bite, your chance of passing away is perhaps 1%. You know, these aren't good odds. Hantavirus is spread by rodents. Rodents get onto food. They can get onto sort of like cans of drink at gas stations if people aren't paying attention, stuff like that. They can get into grain stores, they can get everywhere and spread hantavirus, and you can catch it. So you really, really don't want it, and the best way to prevent that is to have a healthy ecosystem, which includes rattlesnakes. And the reason I'm trying to drive this point home is because I'm fully aware that not everyone likes snakes, not everyone likes rattlesnakes, but if you think about it, putting on some boots every time you go and walk around your property, it's not a big deal compared to the risk of rodent populations getting out of control and spreading diseases like hantavirus. So this is where I come to the limit of what I can do for this topic. I was asked to do this video by Jonathan, who is an American citizen living in Texas, and he said that he wanted me to cover it, so I have to the best of my abilities. Myself, I left the US a long time ago. I don't even have a green card or a visa or anything like that anymore, so I can't vote there, I can't do anything. But if you are a resident of Texas or anywhere else in the US, the best thing you can do is write to your senator once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, it doesn't matter. Honestly, 1 or 2 letters could be ignored, but if hundreds of people see this video and write to their senator and email their senator and say, we're not happy with this happening on our soil, it will make a difference, it will be discussed, and over time, it will add up. So please do try, please do share this video, and please do let everyone know that this needs to be addressed and it needs to be discussed. Anyway, thank you for watching as always. I know that was a bit of a heavy topic, and I know that it's not as fun as some of the other videos that I do, but I do think it was important, so thank you for watching.